Hello. Welcome, everybody. It has been a while. So welcome. Thank you. We are doing a reading from chapter 3. Welcome to Dragonfly Discussions podcast with Cheyenne Jenvey, the Dragonfly. As always, I always like to start this out with reading the messages that are in our chat just to create a safe space element for us all. So welcome to my podcast, Dragonfly Discussions. You are welcome to enter your name and your location from where you were from in the chat. I would love to know where people are who are watching. I am thrilled that you are listening, and I hope that you enjoyed this session together. Just a safe space reminder, please use your own safe space parameters amongst the chapters that I read, which may arouse emotions or memories of your own. So you're welcome to stay or go as you please. That's entirely up to you. But I just want to let you know that some stuff may be a little disturbing, and you can go, you can stay, but you're welcome. So we last left off, we had, we did a chapter read on chapter 3. And I had taken you through the first couple of years of my high school, and now we're into junior year. But before that, I was supposed to have an interview with a lovely local author, Grace Chaw. It didn't happen. And if you look at my channel, you'll see the interview, and I still read the interview for her. She decided not to come. Because of political reasons, which I'm not even going to waste my time with because it doesn't deserve the time. We all know what's wrong with our country, and it is our president. And that's all I'm going to say. But I'm grateful that Grace shared her answers to the questions and at least allowed me to still present her story. She's an amazing author. She wrote 5 adult books and 3 children's books. So you need to look up Grace Chaw. She's an amazing, strong woman who's come to the United States and has spoken her voice. She's been through a lot of things as well. Not just being a person of other descent, but a woman in the workforce against discrimination, sexual prejudice, and all of that. So I would strongly suggest you check her out because she's amazing. And maybe someday when the times have changed in our political world, maybe we can bring her back and let her have her voice, because freedom of speech is our constitutional right. So the First Amendment protects us. So Grace, we love you. And I'm grateful for everybody who supports the First Amendment rights and is standing up for what should be our American rights here in the United States. So let's continue. I do have some exciting news. We have another interview coming up on October 11th. We have Rhonda Martin, who is a dear friend of mine. I've known her, since 2011, maybe 2011 when I joined UPS. We worked together at UPS here in Fresno, and we got to know each other. Completely different spectrums of the management side of things, but we've gotten to know each other. And then she has come to the UU Church, and she has found a whole new light in her life, and is just a shining star of also how to overcome adversity. Her story is not an easy story. She has overcome a lot as a person, mother, wife, person of survivor of loss. So I hope that you will join us October 11th at 11 a.m. You can't forget that date, 10/11 at 11. So we will be doing that interview at CMAX Studios, which is downtown. And it's the beautiful old Metropolitan Museum. That was once a museum. It was once a 3-floor museum that was really beautiful. And then CMAC bought it over and turned it into a production studio. So they have a TV broadcasting station on one floor. They have all these rooms, editing rooms, podcast rooms, training rooms, educational rooms. So CMAC, I can't remember what it stands for, but it's CMAC, and it's Central Media something Communications. Don't quote me. But check it out, because you can have a membership there, and it only costs me $50 for a year, because I'm going in through my church. The church is connected. So I only pay $50 a year to have full access to all their studio rooms, all their equipment. You can rent out their tripods. You can rent out their cameras. You can rent out the little cut, screen. You can rent out anything, everything that you could think of. So check us out October 11th at 11 a.m. next Saturday with me and Rhonda. Okay, so we're going to go into the rest of chapter 3. We were at the point, like I said, where I was entering into now my junior year. So now I'm an upperclassman, and I'm getting to do all the things that, y'all wait for when you're in high school. You're like, you can't wait to be an upperclassman. And I met my first boyfriend. I had never had a boyfriend up until then. This is around 15, 16 years old, 17-ish. So here we go. So this is page 61 of chapter 3, subtitle, High School Sweethearts. I began to date a boy named Evan, and some of these names in this book are altered. The Jamie, Jason, Linda, my dad Don, Debbie, Milani, Miley, those are all real names. Evan is a fake name. We are protecting the name of the person because. So his name really isn't Evan, but we are saying Evan for that purpose. I began to date a boy named Evan whom I met on the football field. So like I was sharing, I was a sports trainer. And he was a football player, and a pretty good one at that. So what I mean by a sports trainer was I was allowed to tape their ankles. I was allowed to tape their shins, their thumbs, their wrists, anything they needed. I was a sports trainer, just like you see people on the fields, the girls, boys running, giving them water. They would also tend to their body. And so that was what I was. I was a sports trainer, and I was working, not really working, it was volunteer, but I was on the sideline with all the boys. So Evan had a lot of friends, and he came from a good family, and he was very handsome, especially in his football gear. Oh boy. It was on the football field where our eyes met, and we locked onto one another. It was instant, and I had never felt giddy like that about someone before. That giddy kind of innocent love, like you're like all these new emotions that you've never really experienced, like all happening. It was innocent. It was good, it was genuine, and it was pure. Over the course of my junior year, we became official, and everyone knew we were a couple. And what I mean by genuine and pure is like it was honest, like it was so sweet. There was no like rough talk, there was no fast moving. It was just simple. It took its natural time. It was slow. We both were new at all of this and all of these feelings. So we weren't trying to just rush into anything and just have sex. That wasn't how we operated in the 90s. I know some people did, but I didn't, and either did he. So we like courted and we like dated, and then we took our time to become an official couple as boyfriend and girlfriend, committed to each other. Okay. And then like everyone in the school knew, because it was somewhat a small school still. It was only 1,000 people total in the whole entire 4 grades. So, everybody knew who was dating who and popular, all that stuff. And Evan, Jesus, Evan was a very well-known athlete. And so people knew that we got together. Being part of a couple was important too in high school. It meant that you were taken and other boys couldn't ask you out or try to talk to you much. So yeah, you were taken. Why would you flirt with other boys if you had a boyfriend? Having the right kind of boyfriend was important too. And dating a football player was considered a good thing. So yes, I went to a private Catholic high school that was kind of snobby, and they did look at who you dated and all of that. But that wasn't the reason why I liked him. Soon I met Evan's family and he met mine. We went to the winter formal together, with me dressing in a fancy dress and him in a stunning tuxedo. He would shower me with flowers and love notes. He would do spontaneous things for me, like send me on a scavenger hunt on my birthday to find my gifts that were scattered all throughout his parents' house. So, oh my gosh, this was probably our first year together, and I had a birthday, and he placed all these cute little gifts all around the house with little notes leading me to clues to go to the next spot, to the next spot, to the next spot. And at every spot, there was like a cute little gift. It wouldn't be anything like fancy, but it'd be like maybe flowers or a bracelet or some charm I liked or a book. I don't even know. Like, I can't remember, but, or something cat, because I like cats. I've always liked cats. So he would lead me on this scavenger hunt, and he was so creative. It was so cute. And his family was so supportive because he was the oldest of the family. So this was the first for the whole entire family, and for Evan to have a girlfriend and, it be the way it was just cute. It was just really cute. He was cute. So I was in love for the very first time in my life. So Evan was my very first love. No question that. And my junior year of high school, I was even nominated prom queen. Me. 5 girls made the cut, and I was one of them. I was exhilarated to think that I had gained enough votes from the class. They had voted for me as an option for prom queen, which meant so much to me. It meant that people knew me and liked me for who I was. Because I was really a genuine person. I mean, still am. But I was not snobby or like stuck up or too good to hang out with you or too good to talk to you. I was never that. So that's why I was probably nominated. It meant that people knew me and liked me. It meant that enough people had voted for me to be on the ballot, considering me qualified for such an honor. The night of the prom, I wore a white dress that had sequences and shimmered. When you stood in the right light, it was so pretty. Didn't show off my body too much and was perfect for the occasion. My hair was all done up, and I wore my mother's jewelry. That's my stepmother, Linda, including her diamond earrings and necklace. So my stepmother would often let my sister and I wear her very expensive jewelry, which was such a treat because it was gorgeous. Evan and my friends had formed a bond together. So we all met at my parents' house that night to celebrate and take pictures. A limo came to pick us up, and off we went to the prom. When we arrived, everyone noticed our limo as we poured all out of it. It was taking place at a ballroom at one of the hotels in town. I don't, Pardini, it was, I don't know if it's still around now. We went inside and were seated at a table with our friends. We could mingle and grab non-alcoholic drinks. So they had like this open bar that was non-alcoholic, making us somewhat feel adult. Even more pictures were taken, and they were more professional than the ones we had taken back at my parents' house. Dinner was served, and we all ate well. So parents' families could buy these picture packages that were like $100 for 8x10s, 5x7s, 4x6s, wallets, whatever. I don't know. Whatever. It was just big taking pictures. Then the celebrations began on the stage. Announcements were made first. Then came time for the crowning of the prom queen of the year. I was so nervous since I didn't like being in front of large crowds or having people stare at me. I have overcome that. I still struggle, but I had a huge stage fright back in high school. I think I share my freshman year, I tried to run for president or vice president of the student body, and I froze. My eyes started twitching, and I lost. So I have overcome a huge stage fright, but I still have my nerves. So that was nervous going up there as prom queen nominee. Because it was one of the first two times I had been in front of a large crowd. By that night, I felt like a queen no matter what. I thought that no matter if I won or not, I would still appreciate the honor of being nominated. Soon, all the five of us girls were called up on stage. With the big spotlight shining down on all of us, we were unable to see really anybody in the audience. Like the light was so bright, you couldn't see hardly anybody. But standing there in my best dress and with the attention of the whole class on me, I felt pretty. I felt proud and beautiful. They gave each one of us a beautiful bouquet and hold while we waited for the winner to be announced. I was nervous yet calm. And then when it was my time, and then it wasn't my name that was called, it was Giovanna's. And that was that. I didn't get crowned, but I appreciated being honored enough to be considered for the crown in the first place. Like, I knew I stood a long shot with some of the girls that I was up against. I was up against some really other very more popular girls. I was thinking how random it would be if I was to win, so I wasn't quite disappointed that I lost, but I was really happy it was Giovanna, because I think it was Lisa Masuko and Sissy Delana, I'm not sure. But they were like snobby white girls, pretentious, thought their shit didn't stink. And like, I was like, please don't let them win. Please don't let them win. Please let Giovanna win. Please let Giovanna win. Because Giovanna was Hispanic. She was very down to earth, very kind to all of us. And those white girls did not deserve it. And I did not want them to win. And when Giovanna won, I was like, yes, justice is served. Like, I was so happy. Those white girls were so upset. They were like, how dare she beat us? I was like, yes, go Giovanna. If you ever watch this, Giovanna, I love you. We're friends on Facebook. Oh my gosh, that was pretty epic. That was a really epic moment when she won. Oh my God, so many people were so shocked. They were so shocked. Oh, that was a good moment. Anyways, okay. Okay, so we're back to everyone cheered with joy, and she deserved it all. Giovanna did deserve it all. We were up against some pretty popular girls, and to my surprise, Giovanna beat them all. It was quite an epic moment. I giggled on the inside as I walked off stage and went back to my boyfriend. Then we left to go back to his parents' house. Everyone was gone that night. Everyone had gone their separate ways um, by then. So all of us friends, like we all kind of fizzled and like did our own things. Like couples kind of did their own thing. So we didn't go to like a restaurant or we didn't go to another party together. We just kind of parted ways and said goodnight. And Evan and I went on our way. So Evan's family was gone that night at the house. So we had the house all to ourselves, right? And we went into his bedroom quietly. We had already discussed sex, but had wanted to wait until the right moment. By that time, we had been together for almost a year, and we were in love with each other. I felt safe, and so did he. So there, under the moonlight streaming through his bedroom window, we began to explore each other's body more deeply than we had ever before. It was my first, most intimate moment with a man, and it was everything I had hoped it would be. He was gentle and slow, and we joined together. It felt magical. A tear slipped from my eye as Evan held me in his arms tightly. We used a condom at the time to be careful, of course, but it didn't take away from the experience, nor did it interfere with the love that we felt. My first real sexual experience was what my hopes and dreams were made of. It was like a romance novel that came to life. And not all girls can say that. Um, and I'm sorry for that, but not all girls can say that their first time losing their virginity was beautiful or great or enjoyable because, yeah, it's painful. And that's why you need to take it slow. And Evan was a gentleman and took his time, and we did it the right way. And we waited until we were both ready and relaxed and comfortable, not forced in any way. But not every girl has that wonderful first experience. And like I said, I'm really sorry for that. I wish every man treated us with the respect that we deserve, and vice versa, that women treat men with respect. It was hard then, and I can't even imagine what it's like now to go through your first experience with someone. And I hope it's as good as mine. So now we're on page 64, subchapter Half Dome. Evan and I stayed together, spending the summer together, which was one of the best of my entire teenage life. I worked a lot of hours at the bookstore in the local mall just so I could get a car by 16 and spent the rest of my time with my amazing boyfriend. So I was very determined to get a car by 16, working every chance I could, and then whatever free time I would spend with my boyfriend or at school. I loved being with him. His family also took me climbing up Half Dome. My father and his best friend Mike and my stepbrother, had gone climbing up Half Dome years ago when I was younger. So I was thrilled at getting the opportunity to do the same thing finally. My parents even took me shopping for all the necessary gear. My father had everything I needed already, but they wanted to make sure that I didn't miss out on anything. The day finally came and we took my boyfriend's family's minivan. He had a large family and he was the oldest of 4 children. When we got to Yosemite, we all unloaded our packs and got suited up. As much as I knew it was going to kick my butt, I was so excited about it. And just like that, all of us went in a line like a train up along the trails leading us up to the massive rock of Half Dome. And this is Half Dome, Yosemite, California. If anybody is not familiar, it's a famous rock to climb. People climb the face of it, which is straight up, and they actually suspend canopies and sleep overnight. And then there's the backside of the rock, which is a little bit rounder, and you have to go through dirt trails and a lot of trails and stairs, climbing up waterfalls, and then you go through another valley, and then you finally get to Little Dome. You climb Little Dome, and you get to Half Dome. So we're going to talk about that, but it is an immense, intense hike, and I did it. My father did it first, so it was only natural that I had to do it when I had the opportunity. So Half Dome, it's up 8,842 feet and is as a 17-mile hike. 17-mile hike round trip. But my boyfriend's family had planned us to stay the night at the base of Little Dome. So you could do it in a couple nights. People do it in one day. I would never suggest to do it in one day. It is so exhausting. But people do it in one day. But we didn't do it in one day. We did it in like a couple nights. It was to be a 2-day adventure. It started off quite rocky with a lot of steps and jagged stairs. We climbed the high altitude fast. Soon we came upon the first waterfall called Nevada Falls. Beautiful waterfall. And then continued up the rocks. Then we embarked on the hardest set of stone stairs that I could have imagined. And it seemed to go on forever. So it was just stone step after stone step, stone step. And it's like, it was so hard on your legs. Oh my God. It was intense. It was intense. We came upon another waterfall, Vernal Falls. That was where a lot of people had stopped to take pictures because there was a place to go to the trail at the very top and look over the fall down at the bottom. So once you got up to Vernal Falls, it was kind of like your first resting spot. You could maybe go potty. You could refuel on your water because there was a stream up there with a waterfall going over. You could go to this railing where you could see down the waterfall, like this huge waterfall with gushing water and so much force. You could sit on the rocks. You could play with squirrels. Like, it was really cool. It was kind of like a midpoint where a lot of people rested. The water crashing below created a cloud of mist that prevented you from seeing the very bottom. We took our first break there and to refuel and hydrate. I was amazed at how my boyfriend's younger siblings continued to hike as nothing fazed them. So we climbed. So Evan and I are what, 16, 17? They were 13, 8, and like 6. So there was 2 young ones. And they were like, this is nothing. And us older people were like, ugh. Not older, but older than them. I, on the other hand, was almost dying. We went back to the trail, hiking along a narrow, dusty path. We finally made it to Little Yosemite. It's a little valley hidden way up in the rocks and wide with a stream passing through it. So you go through like these dirt trails and then you get up to Little Yosemite, which Little Yosemite is beautiful. It's like this little valley up there, way high up in the rocks. And you would never, ever guess this is up there. But it's this beautiful little Yosemite. And it's like the original Yosemite down below, but way up higher, just a mini version of it. But there's like no buildings or anything, of course. There's just the stream and all these trees. And that's where you spend some time refueling, rehydrating, filling up all your stuff, your canteens with water, because it's really clean water. You still have to use a filtration device. I would always suggest using a water filtration device. Um, to prevent any kind of bacteria that's in the water. But it was so beautiful, just absolutely incredible up there. Little Yosemite. Yeah. You got to climb Half Dome. People would often stop there to take a longer break before the next hike up, which was steep and much harder. So this was like the last opportunity to really relax, rest, refuel, regenerate yourself, because the next stretch up is brutal. It's brutal to Little Yosemite. It's brutal. We started running out of water and needed to take a break and refuel. Evan's parents had a water filtration device that allowed us to drink water from the stream safely. So those suckers are dynamite. You have to have a water filtration device on you. Like nowadays, they just have them in like these pens. There's these just pens like that are vertical. You just put them in your pocket. I have a few of them. But all you have to do is just you pop it open and it's like a straw. And you just drink straight out of the stream, and you don't have to worry because it's got a filter. So those are the best. And fresh ice spring water from that high up. Oh my God. You have never tasted something so clean and pure, delicious. Oh God. We could talk all day long about that water up there. We filled all of our water containers to the brim and began to eat lunch. We rested for a short while to not let our bodies become too rested. You didn't want to rest too long. You needed to just get back up and go, because your body will start to fatigue and get tired and not want to move. It won't want to move. Then we all packed up, helping each other with our heavy backpacks. It felt like there was a boulder on our backs by this point because of the exhaustion taking over. So you're climbing elevation, you got this huge heavy pack on your back that's probably at least 35 pounds, plus your own body weight, plus your own exhaustion. So it's a lot. It's a lot to endure. The next climb up was, like I said, much harder, and the air was thinner. We lined up again and began our next trek up the rock. More big and narrow steps to climb. So it gets steppy, step, rocky, like, ugh. And then there is Little Dome, which Little Dome is just Little Dome from Half Dome, like a baby. You had to climb Little Dome to get to Half Dome. Right at the top of Little Dome was where we set camp up for the night. So there's like a flat surface on top of Little Dome and some areas where you can just set up camp real quick, pitch a tent, set a fire, eat, sleep, and then pack up for the next day to get all the way up to the big rock of Half Dome. So I think that that's the smartest way to do it. Rather than the day thing, I like that camping idea. And then it was Little Dome. You had to climb Little Dome to get up to Half Dome. Right at the top of Little Dome was where we set up camp. Little Dome had just about kicked my butt, and everyone else's too, for that matter. It was steep, and it was super hard to breathe up there. So yeah, the air starts getting really thin, and it starts getting really harder to breathe. But then you're there. You're standing on a not so little rock, when an overlooking view that captivates you beyond your dreams. As we all set our backpacks down and looked around, we soon found a spot to set up our camp. We all helped each other By unloading everything from our packs, Evan and I helped out his parents while his sister tended to the younger siblings. We didn't stay up for very long after we had settled down and eaten. Due to the exhaustion from the hike, we all slept like a rock. No pun intended. I recall how a bear approached our camp in the wee hours of the night, close to mine and Evan's head. Yes, a bear came right in. And to my surprise and horror, Evan got up and jumped out of the tent. Actually, we weren't even sleeping in a tent. That's wrong. Because we were sleeping out in the open sky. We were the only two that couldn't sleep out in a tent because everybody else was in a tent. Yeah, we didn't. We were in the open sky that night. Anyways, he didn't jump out of the tent. He jumped out of his sleeping bag. He yelled at the bear so loudly, I could have sworn that it shook the mountains. The bear went away, and Evan came back inside the tent, wrapping his arms around me. He held me until I fell asleep, knowing how scared I had felt. Yeah, we were out in the open sky. I don't know why I wrote a tent. We weren't in a tent. Sorry about that. He held me until I fell asleep, knowing how scared I felt. The next morning, we all woke up refreshed and ready to face Half Dome. We packed light and headed up to Half Dome. So that's also another thing is we had our tent so we could leave all of our heavy pack there and we didn't have to go up the huge rock with all of our stuff. So I don't know what people do, but all we did was just pack light. We didn't even pack anything. I think I might have just taken my water bottles on me somehow and went up Half Dome because you don't want to be all loaded with a pack. At the base of the rock, there were gloves from people who had climbed the rock in past years. I was amazed at all the old gloves laying around for new climbers to use so they could protect their hands from the cable. Little did I realize that the cable was big, strong, and thick, laying on the rock, stabilized only by a bolt holding it up. So Half Dome, yeah, there's like this pile of gloves that have been used from many, many people. And yeah, they're dirty and gross and sweaty, but I mean, we didn't bring our own gloves. I don't know why. I guess now I might. But it's not really hard to hold on to the cables with your hands. But I mean, I guess for some people it would be. But it was really neat to have all these old gloves. Like there was these old gloves and we would put them on and use them. And the cables literally, they're like these big metal cables that are just laying on the rock, like all the way up, just laying. And you're supposed to, and there's like these poles that are sticking up in the not even that high off the rock. There's like these poles in the ring and the cables are in that ring. So you just pick up the cable and you just climb, and there's wood planks like every, I don't know, 3 feet, 10, I'm terrible, 12 inches, maybe 12 inches. There's a wood plank and a wood plank and a wood plank and a wood plank so that you could pause and take a breath and then keep going. So this is hilarious. So here I am, a senior in high school, and then we've got youngins who are younger than me in the family. And I start to cry as I see this rock because I have somewhat of fear of heights. So there's all these gloves. And I looked up at this huge rock I was about to climb. I began to cry. And the youngsters started crying too. I made them cry. But we all got a grip on ourselves, faced our fears, and up we went. Again, uniformly, we climbed the rock. From what I remember, his mother and younger siblings went first. So the young ones and mom went first. Then it was dad and me and Evan, right? It was a slow and steady climb, all of us gripping the cables with all of our might, never letting go. So there's nothing holding you from falling unless you let go. There's no safety net. There's no rappel. There's no anything. It is you and those cables climbing up a rock. That is it. I mean, it is pretty dangerous. Pretty dangerous. You just don't let go. There were wooden planks mounted to the rock as well, which you could rest on, which I was telling about. At some points, you were literally hanging from the cables, pulling your body over the next hump on the rock till we got to the very top. I'm not kidding. It is pretty vertical. It is pretty vertical. You are going around the backside of that rock, and it's pretty gnarly. It's yeah. And going down is even more gnarly because they say going forward is better than going backwards, like backwards. So I went forward, and oh my God, that was gnarly. Once you got to the top, though, it was wide and long as a football field. Like once you got on top of Half Dome, it was huge up there. Like it looks small from very far away, but once you get up to the top, it was huge. Like I would have to say it's as big as a football field. It's, what is that, 250 yards or 500 yards as a football field? We could see for miles upon miles out into the heavens and beyond. We could sit at the edges to take in the beauty that was all around us. We would sit at the edges to take in that which we had not seen before. Standing on that rock made me feel very small. Evan and I took our typical couple pictures, and while the others took their pictures, it felt like we stayed up there for a long time. Going back down was a bit trickier than up. People could go back down facing downward or facing forward. I chose to go backward, gripping the cables tightly, making my way down a little. So I tried to face outward, and then I switched around. That's right. I switched around and went down just backwards. Just go back down the ladder. Making my way to Little Dome. I felt euphoric. I had done it. I had just climbed Half Dome. So that was quite an accomplishment for sure. So we've got about 15 minutes left. I don't want to keep us too long. We are on a Saturday, and we want to enjoy our Saturday. So let's see how much. Okay. So this is going to go into my senior year. Senior year was where I started to get into trouble. So I'm not quite sure how much I want to go into. I think I'm going to pause at this point. Unless you want to keep going till after 11, we can go till after 11. I'm fine with that. maybe we should just keep going. Let's just keep going. All right. So this is Life of a Senior. A little bit later in my junior year, a girl in my sister's class was killed tragically by a drunk driver. She had just left the airport and said goodbye to her boyfriend when she was killed in a car accident instantly. It rocked the whole school, leaving everyone devastated. My sister was quite close to the girl, and she was shattered. Her entire class wept for days. Shelley, the girl, was loved by the whole school, not just her class. Her smile spread across the entire campus, and her heart was pure. I hadn't really known her that well, other than seeing her a few times she came to my parents' house to visit my sister. But what I didn't anticipate was how confused and angry I became after her death. It just didn't make sense to me how this God that I had learned about in all my schooling could take away such a young and beautiful soul. It shook me so much that at that moment, I began to turn away from God. I began to turn away from my beliefs of what God was supposed to be. If he was so loving, then why would he let that happen? It just didn't make sense to me at all. My faith and relationship with Jesus and the God we had learned about all these years was never the same after that. The confusion and anger stayed in my mind and soul for a very long time. It was 1995, and senior year had finally arrived. I achieved my goal, and in my senior year, I got my very first car. So after all 15, I had my worker's permit. My goal was to get my car by 16. I had achieved my goal. I had raised and saved enough money to get my car. So in 1995 and senior year had finally arrived. I achieved my goal, and in my senior year, I got my first car. It was a 1985 Toyota Corolla. It was silver, four-door, boxy little thing with a sunroof. I loved it because it reminded me of my Grandma Jay when I was a kid. I had saved up $1,750, so $1,750, and gave my parents half of the price of the car, which was just $3,700. I was so proud of myself because I finally earned my independence and freedom. I could do anything I wanted. Oh boy. Oh boy. So I don't know if you remember or heard, but the deal was in our family was if we wanted to get a car by 16, I think now it's 18, but 16, then we had to come up with half of the price of the car. So if we found a car that was 5,000, we needed to come up with 2,500. If we found a car for 30 or 3,000, then we needed to come up with 1,750. So I came up with exactly, what was it? No, the car was 3,700, so I came up with 1,750. So I came up with exactly half. So this little 1985 Toyota, it was so cute. I loved it. I had so much fun in that car. Oh my gosh. A lot of things happened in my senior year that changed my life forever. I quit the bookstore job and gained a great position at a construction company as a courier. I loved that too. I was allowed to work after school and run all sorts of errands for the company. When I wasn't driving construction plans all over the city, I was in the office answering phones, typing up memos for meetings, and running the front desk office. By that time, my older sister had dropped out of her first year of college to follow the rock band called the Grateful Dead. I remember how that had an impact and made an impression on me about colleges and freedom. If she could drop out, why couldn't I do the same? But I didn't quit my dreams and helped my parents through the difficult time they had worrying about my sister. At the same time, I was making decisions about college and which one I was going to choose. It was between California Polytech State University, so Cal Poly, in San Luis Obispo, where my father had gone to school, or it was Fresno State University here in Fresno State, where my stepbrother went. Both of the colleges were great. I was really into art at that time, able to draw and paint really well, much to my surprise. So I thought I would go for an art major. I created an art portfolio for Cal Poly so I could enroll in their graphic design program. I was so proud of that. I really was. I was so proud of that. And once it was sent, I hoped that they would accept me. I also sent in my application to Fresno State at the same time just to be on the safe side. I really wanted to go to Cal Poly. That was really hard to get into. So this is page 69, subchapter Descent into Hell. Senior year was so difficult for me in a lot of ways. My boyfriend had friends of all sorts, both good and bad. His friends knew other friends who had access to drugs and did them, mainly marijuana and alcohol. So when Evan's best friend started bringing marijuana around, we all got curious, of course. I didn't care much about the dangers of such drugs, nor did I believe them. My class included kids who had a lot of money with parents who looked the other way. Or they worked so much that they didn't notice what was happening in the home. And the rich kids took advantage of that. So San Joaquin Memorial, probably still now, has a bunch of rich kids, spoiled with parents who are working or absent or doing other things. Some of the parents that were around when we were in high school they just spent their time in their bedroom, and they had this huge mansion, and they would go off in their own little wing, and they would let us kids party downstairs in the pool hall, in the pool, in the kitchen, in the living room. And they'd be up there in their little wing. They probably had their own bar and TV and balcony and everything, but they let us party. And we went to mansions where the parents just supplied all the alcohol, knew what we were doing, and looked the other way. I mean, it was crazy. My parents never were like that. No way. But there was a lot of parents who were like that. Okay. Those rich kids were able to get the highest quality of drugs. They also had the best parties in mansions that were bigger than mine, overlooking the river. They drove fancy cars and were allowed to party at their parents' house with their parents were upstairs enjoying themselves as well. So just like I was saying, it was a very strange world, but I loved it. I hung out with the more popular crowd, so I was able to attend all the parties with my boyfriend. It started innocently enough with just marijuana, cigarettes, and a little bit of drinking. Then I met Jessica at a time when I started having issues with my body image. The pressure to be skinny and fit in with the rest was piled high. When I met Jessica, she was in the same class as me. She was the one who introduced me to crank, my very first real demon. So before methamphetamines, it used to be called crank. Crank is a drug that reduces your appetite. That was all I really knew about it. And that's all I cared about. So I snorted a chalky powder up my nose and instantly felt my heart racing and the need to smoke a cigarette. I was shaking and it didn't go away for 5 whole hours. Like, I was high for a long time. It was a different kind of rush. I had extreme clarity and focus. I didn't want to eat, but wanted to write or do something. I needed something to occupy my hands and mind because it was racing so fast. I didn't tell anyone, not even my beloved boyfriend. Then winter formal came around and all of us met at a friend's house to celebrate beforehand. The group dynamics had changed by then. Couples had broken up and new couples had formed. I wore a very skimpy dress to show off how much weight I had lost. I was beginning to use crank so much that I had lost a bit of weight. I had thought that I was fat and had developed a body complex by this time. So I was really struggling with my own body image. I thought I was fat and I just wanted to be thin, comparing myself to this other girl. And it just didn't, it wasn't fun. I compared myself to other girls and became scared that I would lose my boyfriend. If not then, sooner after college. I thought that being skinny would make me more desirable to him, and he would never look at or want anyone else. We ate dinner as usual and drank champagne. It was a very elegant affair. Then we were all picked up in a horse-drawn carriage. I was so shocked. I had no idea. Evan had totally surprised me. When we arrived at the gala, everyone stared. So Evan didn't tell me that we were getting picked up in this horse-drawn carriage, and it was very fancy. It was just beautiful. Like all of us, there was about 10 of us. It was huge. It was so beautiful. No one had been as extravagant as to arrive in a horse-drawn carriage. We ladies stepped out from the carriage delicately in our high heels. We all entered the venue and sat down at our table, where we did the typical mingling and took pictures. That night ended with us partying late into the night at a friend's house, only to wake up the next day with a horrible hangover. I picked up crank soon and again, after doing it with Jessica, using it on a regular basis, even hiding it from everyone. We became like a pack, the two of us. We would make up lies and stories just to escape and do crank. It used to be dirty then because it wasn't made with the purest ingredients. So crank was kind of a dirtier thing, but it was, it's ironic, but it was cleaner than the meth. Meth, it was all synthetic and factory, lab made, and chemicals, like really bad chemicals. But it sustained our appetites, and my main goal was to get skinny. There was a tradition where it was customary for seniors to go on a trip at the end of the year. I went to Hawaii with 11 other girls. Jessica was not one of them. I went with the preppy girls, the more popular ones. I didn't belong with that crowd, but I still went and took my drugs with me. Yes, I took my drugs with me to Hawaii as 17, like 18, risking everything. I didn't belong with that crowd, so I snuck them, the drugs. I snuck them on the plane and onto the island. I felt like a criminal, and I was starting to love it. I was so skinny by then, and when I lay down in the sand in my bathing suit on my stomach, the soft sand hurt the bones protruding from my body. That's how skinny I was. My bones, my hip bones, were protruding so far out of my body that when I laid on the sand, it hurt my bones. So you can imagine how skinny I was. I had to turn over and lie on my back. So it hurt too much to lie on my stomach, so I had to lie on my back. But the bones, my hip bones, then raised my bathing suit bottoms up around my pelvis so high you could see down my bathing suit. So no matter which way I laid, my body was so skinny that my hip bones protruded so far above my body that you could see right down there. I mean, I was a skeleton. I was literally a skeleton. It was bad. My ribs and sternum were protruding, so my whole chest plate, everything, you could see everything. I was literally, you could see all these bones and my sternum, everything was bad. But to me, it was a sign of beauty and sex appeal. So even though it was skinny, like there was that model, Kate Moss. Kate Moss was very famous, and she was like an anorexic looking model. But people, I mean, what was it, Guess? I think she was a Guess model. They loved her look. So that was kind of that goth look in the 90s, that skinny, I don't know. Anyways, the entire week in Hawaii, I was constantly high and the others were all drunk. So, as every other girl that I was with, they were all getting drunk. I was getting drunk too, but I was also snorting crank. The week was full of men partying all day, showers with girls for the first time, orgies, along with lots and lots of liquor. Like, I had never done any of that stuff with girls. None. And all these preppy girls that were thought to be good, all of us Catholic girls were thought to be good, were like crazy. And especially with sex. Like, we invited strangers, men we met off the beach, into our hotel. And like the girls were playing around with them. And we all were showering together. Some of us had our bathing suits on. Some of us were naked. I had my bathing suit on, but I was blown away. I was just blown away. Blown away. I did have a fake ID. So before the trip, me and some other girls got fake IDs. We went down to the cherry auction. If you know what the cherry auction here is in town, it's just off of the 41. I think it's Easton, Fowler, Singer area. I'm not sure, but there's the cherry auction. It might be off the 99. Can't remember. No, I don't know. Sorry. That's where I got my fake ID, was the cherry auction. So I was able to get us girls into clubs. So at the first part of our week in Hawaii, I had the fake ID. Maybe one or others had one too, but I got us into some of the clubs. So they all were like, "Oh, Cheyenne's the shit," and blah blah blah. She's got a fake ID. She can get us in. And I was thinking that was cool because I was trying to fit in. Then I got it taken away. I was feeling too many things at once and having a lot of fun. However, my fake ID was quickly taken away by one of the clubs, but we soon found men. Yeah, we did. We found men that were willing to buy us alcohol. That wasn't hard. We did all the tourist stuff, of course. Like, we went to Pearl Harbor and we went to like a luau and we went on a cruise and we did all the fun stuff. Like seeing Pearl Harbor, and went to luau's. But most of it was a complete crank-infused haze of a vacation for me. Okay, we're going to finish. We're going to finish here. We only have like a page and a half. So this is page 72, subchapter Graduating Under Disguise. When I returned home, it was time for me to get back to class and prepare for graduation, as well as more parties ahead. When we graduated, there was parents who had parties. We had so many parties to go to. I probably had at least 3 or so party invites in the last few weeks of my senior year. Like, it was so many parties at all these fancy houses, and ugh. All the while, I was trying to wrap up my grades and land an approved application at a college. Crank was taking over me slowly, but no one knew. Neither my family nor my boyfriend, so I'm still hiding my addiction. I was good at hiding it. Maybe it was from all the ways I had seen Debbie, my birth mother, or Leroy hiding things as a child. I had picked up on skills from them that became natural to be a drug addict, even though I wasn't a drug addict yet. So I didn't quite consider myself a drug addict yet. I was just using crank to be skinny. I had control, or so I thought. Soon I received a letter in the mail saying that I was not accepted to NCal Poly because my portfolio wasn't up to the expectations for the graphic design program. So I accepted entrance into Fresno State University. Graduation came, and as usual, we had multiple events of celebration that it became overwhelming. It's so many events. The school would honor each graduating class in front of the entire student body. All the classes were there, from freshman to junior class, all for honoring us. It was usually very long and boring. We were in formation according to the order of our names, so I wasn't able to sit by my boyfriend or Jessica. When it was over, we were let go to do as we pleased. That meant hugging and signing yearbooks, taking pictures, and making our last memories last as long as we could. The few days after that was the final graduation ceremony where we got our diplomas and attended a sober grad night party right after graduation. Graduation was held at the famous Williams Soroyan Theater. My habit with Crank, my habit with Crank was still alive and well. I met my family there as students had to line up in formation so we would all be in order as we went on stage. I remember going up on stage, sitting down, and waiting for my name to be called. Soon enough, my name was called there, high on Crank. So I'm sitting there, high out of my mind on Crank. I grabbed my high school diploma and smiled for the camera. Cheers! Yeah. After the ceremony was over, I was showered with flowers and leis because Melania was a Hawaiian family, so they often would give us girls leis as well and bless us. From my best friend Melania, who was Hawaiian. We were still friends even after all this time, and our families were still close. Her mother would often shower us girls with personally made leis on special occasions. She would delicately spring together carnations and other Hawaiian flowers to form a necklace. So she decided to lay us after the graduation ceremony, celebrating that beautiful moment of crossing into a new chapter of our lives, college. We said our goodbyes to our parents and went off to sober grad night, a sober party where we had to stay up all night. This is a sober grad party all night long till morning. So you finish graduation, you have a couple hours, and then you head to the building, and you're supposed to not party, but like have pizza and movies and games and sober grad night all till the wee hours in the morning. I don't know who came up with that. The sober grad night event took place right after the graduation ceremony, and every one of us was expected to attend. My boyfriend and I met up to go to his boyfriend's house and change. His parents were cool, letting us drink a little and smoke marijuana before the event. We left and arrived at the venue where it was held. I was nervous because I wasn't sober. I was high on crank. And most everyone else was. So most everyone, I mean, they might have had some pot or drinking, but not the hard drugs like me. Um, I was nervous because I wasn't sober and most everyone else was, but I still brought my crank with me. So I had a little vial. I brought my little vial and my shit, and I stuffed it in my purse or pocket or something, and I brought it with me. The sober grad night was an event where the entire class got locked in a huge place with games in the room. Yeah, we were locked in there. We couldn't leave. It was weird. Music. There was like chaperones. There was adult chaperones. So it wasn't like it was all of us children locked in a room. But you were going to be up all night. So I brought my crank because I knew I wasn't going to last all night. So let's see. Games in each room, music playing all around, food, and a room to rest and relax. So they did have a rest and relax room. It was a party in a place where we were allowed to live it up like royalty in a casino in Vegas for 24 hours. Like, I think they set the theme to be like a Vegas theme, and it was like casino night, and it was just all these loud noises like you see in a casino. The next morning, we went home, and all of us were tired as we left the event. We then went back to our homes as we could sleep, so we could sleep till the next day. Like, I think most of us slept till the next day. The parties continued after graduation, so much so that it seemed like every kid's parent was having a party. After the stream of parties ended, the realities of going to college started to sink in. The summer could only last for so long. Half the year had gone by, and I was already going to college come August. So we're going to stop there. We are at part two of chapter 3, Tangling with Demons. It's a loaded chapter. Part 2 gets really juicy. It gets really juicy. This is where my life went downhill very, very fast. Very, very fast. As I started to play around with heroin, a drug that I'm very grateful to have survived, because most people who abuse heroin, they don't survive. So, there was a lot. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. All right, y'all. I will be back here October 8th, which is Wednesday at 7 p.m. Then we got October 11th at 11 a.m. with our beautiful Rhonda Martin. Then we're going to come back to weekdays at 7 p.m. to carry on the rest of my book. So have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. Happy reading. Happy listening. Bye.